We're here to tell the truth.
So, sir, you've told us the characteristics of grace. You've told us the difference between grace and mercy. You've told us many things about grace. So, tell us more. What else is there?
Okay. Well, everyone I think knows grace justifies. The general word we use is saves. All right, but I like to break down the word save. There are three salvific dimensions. There's justification, there's sanctification, there's glorification. And those are laid out in scriptures, of the spirit, of the body, of the soul, the tripartite aspects of man. Three parts. 1 Thessalonians 5 tells us we have a spirit, body, and soul. All right. So grace works in those three dimensions. All right. But if I'm quickly just pointing out some of what the grace of God does in scriptures, what does it achieve? What does it do for us? It justifies us. Everyone, every Christian generally has heard about that. It renders you guiltless. It redeems you. It presents you just as if you had committed no crime, no sin.
Okay.
Yes, it declares you innocent, acquitted. Yeah, that's what happens at the moment of justification. The blood of the innocent is upon you, and wrath of God passes over you.
So this is like when a person gives the person's life to Christ.
Yes, as Christians say, I gave my life to Christ, I got born again, I believed, I became a Christian, I became a believer, however you express it.
All right.
It's an instant thing. It happened for the criminal on the cross. I told the Lord, remember me when you come into your kingdom. He met the requirements of Romans chapter 10. He that will confess Jesus is Lord.
Okay.
And believe in his heart that God has raised him from the dead. Now, the difference with that criminal on the cross, he believed God would raise him from the dead because he wasn't even dead yet.
Okay.
But we, since it's after the fact, same thing like Abraham, David, and the rest. They believed the Messiah would come. They believed he would forgive their sins. Blessed is the man against whom the Lord does not count iniquity. David saw, Abraham saw his day and rejoiced. Same thing, everyone. So they had faith forward, we have faith backwards. We look back and believe. That criminal had faith in the present, he hung there and represented the two types of men, the ones who believe and the ones who don't believe. Yeah, so that's the first thing, justification.
Okay.
And in addition, there is sanctification, all right? That's in addition to justification, all right? So justification is the first, sanctification is the second, and I'll add edification, building up. And I'm trying not to give you scriptures, but what is sanctification about? Sanctification is found in Titus 2:11-14. It teaches us, as you learn to set aside wickedness and obey God, you're being sanctified. It means to be set apart. The word hagios means to be set apart for a purpose. All right. Now, it's not enough to acquire a thing. That's redemption. Acquires you out from the rule of sin. Now, the next thing, as you do what Romans 6 says, and we saw in an earlier question, you follow your righteousness. Christ has become your righteousness.
Okay.
Showing you what is right. That's what that means. It's not just your righteousness here. That's all I need. I can live as I like. No. That's why those confusing scriptures are not really confusing, because we don't understand it. He becomes your righteousness. That's your standard for righteousness. That's why Jesus said, your righteousness does not exceed that of the Pharisees. So there's a measure to it. You shall by no means enter the kingdom of heaven. So don't use the Pharisees and scribes as your standard.
Yes.
Matthew 23 says the scribes and Pharisees sit in the seat of Moses. Whatsoever things they say do, but don't do as they do, because they say but don't do. Then he also says, if your righteousness does not exceed Matthew 5. So whose righteousness did he want you to pattern yourself at? His. Imitate me as I imitate Christ. 1 Corinthians 11.
Yes.
Ephesians 5. Okay, so Christ is standard of righteousness. He has become for us righteousness. He has become for us sanctification or holiness. He has become, 1 Corinthians 1, he has become for us redemption.
Okay.
He has become for us wisdom. So his wisdom that shows you how all these things, as we follow him on. So to be set apart, to be sanctified, is from the process of following him. That's how we are set apart, distinguished. You are chosen, a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a set apart nation, called forth, ecclesia, brought out to show forth the praise of him who has called us from darkness into light. Okay, so the whole scriptures talk about this, So it starts with the kingdom of God, Romans 15, of righteousness, peace, and joy. But it also tells you that the kingdom of God, our spirit, our souls, and body are to be preserved blameless.
Yes.
So it talks about justification, sanctification, glorification. All right, so that's something that the grace of God helps you do as it teaches you. You're living, you're going about your day-to-day life. It says, hey, don't do that. You're a child of God now. You don't do that. Or you don't act that way. Picture the boy that lived in the gutter, in the slums, all this like very dirty, lousy. And then he's moved to this big white house where the thick carpeting is white. Everything is white. The walls are white. Now, this boy sometimes used to bathe once in 4 weeks in his former life. And he's in this situation. You don't just slop through the mud and walk into the carpet. No, cleaning up is not an attempt to be accepted. You've already been accepted into the big white house.
Yes.
Where the big good man is. Let's use this analogy. But are you really going to drag mud and do all of that into? Come on, you're being told, hey, go wash your feet first. It's not a sign of rejection. It's process of sanctification. You're being trained. You're being taught the ways of God. Okay? Yeah. So remember, Paul said, according to the pattern of sanctity which you receive from us. And so there's a pattern. Yeah. So sanctification is that process, and that's what the grace of God teaches you to deny. That whole process, sanctification. Hebrews chapter 12 takes time to talk about this. From verse 6, it tells you it will be painful, but it will produce a peaceable fruit of righteousness. It tells you that you're being disciplined so you might share in his holiness. The word holiness is sanctification. All right, so this is what grace does. The true grace of God, not the false one. The true grace of God will clean you up in your soul. Your spirit was saved instantly at justification, but your soul, you walk out the salvation with fear and trembling. That's where that fear comes in. So you're being changed. As you see and hear, as you hear the warnings of God, oh wow. Come, children, remember Psalm 34. Let me teach you the fear of God. All right, so these things all segue, they mix, they flow together from Genesis to Revelation. And that's one of the ways you know it's a truth, because the sum of thy word, the totality, SU of thy word is truth. The sum, not the fractions. You produce heresy and errors, you pick portions and tell lies, but the sum, totality of your word is true. The psalmist said. All right, Hebrews 4:16 tells you to come to the throne of grace to obtain mercy and find grace, and so on.
Venture true, we're here.